Okay, so Louis, you remember yesterday when we were driving the RZR and our RPMs were running high at higher speeds? And we were thinking, well, maybe we have a situation where we've shifted all the way out and we're going really fast, and so now our RPMs are starting to rise because our clutches have shifted all the way out. But we thought that the speed was a little bit low for that, right? Well, this is what caused it right here. So this is the front clutch off of the engine, the primary clutch, and this is what they call the jam nut that holds the spider down. The spider screws down and then the jam nut screws down, and it's supposed to be Loctited and it's supposed to be pretty tight, and they don't typically come loose.
280 foot-pounds or 300 or something like that?
Yeah,
like a lot.
That. Yeah. And so this jam nut had come loose on us, and so after the clutch had shifted out to a certain point, then the spring was binding on this nut, and so the clutch couldn't shift the rest of the way out. And I'm actually doing that the wrong direction. This is all the way shifted out, and so the clutch is sitting here, and then as the spring comes down, the jam nut gets in the way, and the clutch can't travel the full direction, and so we were shifting all the way out at a lot. And I was a little bit complaining yesterday about the way that the car felt and how it was running. Like, this is where my problem was, and we found this.
Is that common? Does that happen to you?
No, this isn't common, but this is the big issue. Is so often somebody will say, well, my snowmobile's not running right, or my turbo's not working. And so then we have to start looking at where is the problem, where are we having, and quite often, because a fuel control box has buttons and a screen, they'll go right there and they'll start making adjustments. And you're never going to, by pushing those buttons, fix this.
And we heard that rattling a little later on, didn't we, at the end of the evening?
Right. And as soon as we heard this rattling, then I put it together. Well, there's what's wrong with the way this car is running today. The car runs well enough that it's a little deceiving. You think, well, it's running pretty good, so maybe it's okay. But so maybe it's not. This is the kinds of things, you'll find if you pay close attention and you do inspections, and you take good care of it, wash it, clean it, check it.
I noticed that when we were out in the field, we brought Basil's new car out, and after just a few minutes riding, it was like, get him to stop, let's go over that whole thing. Every nut and bolt was looked at, anything that had been touched, looking for leaks, looking for anything that could cause a problem, right? But it also shows you that you need to do it on something that's not necessarily just put together, but just a regular ride that after every ride almost, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. At any point in time, you can have something different happen. There's a lot of different things that can happen. Happens to stock vehicles. RZRs aren't so difficult for the dealers to figure out because they can usually drive them around somewhere a little bit and see what it's doing. Snowmobiles is a whole completely different thing. Most dealerships don't have an opportunity to drive the snowmobile to diagnose the problem, and so you can end up back at the dealership more than once to try and get your problem rectified. And sometimes this is where people can learn, pay attention to their vehicle, describe what it's doing, to the dealer in detail is the best way to deal with that. So
that's why you and I have issues when we see somebody hop on something and put a set of earbuds in to listen to music while they're riding.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it because I need to hear what's going on at all times.
Yeah, you can have something happen all at once.
Yeah.
And for instance, I had a crankshaft crack, and the very instant the crankshaft cracked, I shut the car off and rolled to a stop because I heard something that sounded bad, and so then so you take that motor apart and the crankshaft's cracked, but the rest of the motor's still okay. Had I tried to make the thing run, it would have just tore itself up bad, and those kinds of things. So listening to your motor and just knowing what it sounds like.
Now this, you're just gonna retorque it, put a new nut on it, check it out.
Yeah, inspect the threads, and we'll retorque it and re-Loctite it and retorque it, put it back together. It's fine. There's no real damage.
And it just came apart just because it just came apart under a lot of stresses, and who knows?
Who knows is the right answer, because when we assembled this, we Loctited it and torqued it, and it came loose, and there isn't a good reason for it to come loose.
We should also add that how much boost are you running in that beast?
Well, up to 25 pounds, and it's also running at very high RPMs. And so, to me, I think that what I'm probably going to say is I let the clutch get too hot at some point. I pushed it too hard for too long. I didn't stop and let my vehicle cool after, I probably went 10 miles. And that last little bit, I probably stressed it. So the clutch probably got too hot, and that probably let it loosen up. And that may have been a ride ago or 2 rides ago, or even a full tank of gas ago. So, but I don't know. I mean,
it wouldn't have broke if you didn't ride it.
Right, and that's why. These are super low mileage vehicles. Snowmobiles, RZRs, all of these off-road vehicles are super low mileage vehicles. They're not like the family car that's going to go 100,000 miles. These vehicles only go a few thousand miles, and they have things come, concerns that you have to address even within those first few thousand miles. Imagine if you bought a new car and you had to fix something within the first 2,000 miles. You'd be like, what?
Yeah. And every 2,000 miles after that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, your machine is incredible. How many horsepower? What are you thinking?
Well, I don't like to say horsepower because I'm really just guessing.
Yeah.
But it's at least it's 300 plus horsepower at 25 pounds of boost and 9,200 RPMs. It's going to be over 300.
It puts you back in the seat.
Yeah.
Feel it. It was awesome riding with you yesterday. Well, that's good to know. And that's. I do have a lot of people contact me about clutching. Mm-hmm. I'm no clutch expert, and I usually direct them to the clutch experts. Most of the time, it's a lot of older snowmobiles because guys are trying to fix their sleds up. Looking, what can I do to improve my sled? How can I make it faster? It's a 1998 or a 2002 Polaris RMK 800. Address your clutch. Go into your sled. Look at your clutches. They're almost always bagged right out, right? They're almost always toast. And that is that part right there takes a lot of use.
Yeah, and there's a few special tools that a guy needs to be able to service his clutches correctly, and you can just look into that. Different models are different. Look into that and decide, what's right for you, or whether you should have, a technician do it. It's got the tools. Probably isn't going to charge a lot of money. If you've got a service shop that is doing your inspections and your pre-seasons and your post-season servicing, question them about the clutching and what did they find. Did they disassemble and reassemble? Those kinds of things are pretty important. A lot of shops do it, and I think some shops don't. If it's not broken, don't fix it. That's not what you want to do here. Go in, service it, so it doesn't break.
Well, that's great advice, and thanks for showing us that. I was curious about that last night when we, as soon as somebody said, "Hey, what's that?" Jared spoke up. No, that's the nut on there. You guys knew exactly what it was. Very cool.
There it is.
And you let your belts cool down quite often as well. After some hard running, which doesn't take very long in the dunes, you're like, okay, let's let everything cool down. You pegged it with one of the other razors that was out there, and he was saying, I can't believe how long that new belt, because they just bought your clutch kit, right? The 2 clutches and the wider belt. And he said, I can't believe how long that's lasted. It's lasted. Well, he said he was blowing 2 belts a weekend, or
so.
The original
Alan took his RZR 4-seater 1000 with some bigger suspension and a roll bar and stuff, and so it's a heavier car than even stock. And he took that to the Oregon dunes and spent a week or something there, and ended up buying 4 belts while he was there, and he bought them from the local dealer, and so he's paying full retail for them, and they're $200 a piece. And so on vacation, you have to buy $800 worth of belts. This isn't fitting in people's budgets. And so, and Alan has a turbo on that sled, or on that cart, and so he starts to not use the horsepower that's available to him, really cutting into his fun factor.
right.
And so he calls me and makes a trip over to Idaho, because we're going to go ride the St. Anthony Sand Dunes together. And before we go, we install our new clutch kit, the bigger clutches, we call it the Riptide clutches, and the bigger belt. And since then, he's been out to St. Anthony for a full 3 days, 2 different trips now, and multiple tanks of fuel, and driving it hard and using all the power and having a great time. He has not used the belt. So, Alan's a good example of someone that is going to stop driving when he thinks his car's getting hot. He's going to take really good care of his car. He's going to not push the belt past that heat point. Similar to what we were talking about with this clutch. Once you've gone past that temperature where things start to loosen up, you could potentially blow a belt, or have something come loose, or have some damage happen sometime after that heat point, after you've overheated the clutches. And Alan's pretty careful about not doing that, but at the same time, you like with snowmobiles, you start drag racing up a hill, or you start doing the hill challenge with your buddies, and you start banging on the hill.
One more run.
And quite often you'll get someone that is going to beat the last guy, and he'll hit it 4 times instead of just twice or so, and the 4th time he blows a belt. And it's all because he asked the belt to do more than it will do.
It's nice talking to guys like this. It's like sitting down having a good old conversation with your father. Son, this is how it is. I've been there. I've done that. It's been a wealth of information since we've gotten here. We've learned a lot. There's no doubt about it.
Cool.
Yep. Okay, now let's go look at some turbo stuff.
All right.